So, you've never seen my cameraman, but this is a better looking version of the cameraman. We call him the ugly Mr. Magoo. And if, of course, you never worked out what Mr. Magoo looks like, here he is, bald, with a big nose, and, of course, there he is. Mr. Magoo!
Oh, look, it's got cake, look.
Whatever you do, don't touch! There it is. Thank goodness. My lovely brand new hat.
So, the original Mr. Magoo, as I've been told by my audience, looks more like cameraman, and I must admit that is the perfect version of the cameraman. So all you ladies on what are these sites for hooking up?
Hooking up sites with Mr. Magoo.
Is it Tinder? So all of you ladies that have got a Mr. Magoo fetish, he's ready, willing and able, as long as you bring loads of Twixes.
Family mess, guys, that is going on. Camilla the Rat is throwing some heavy shade, guys, at Kate Middleton. So this to me is very interesting because it's in regards to Kate's health, and I don't think that Kate would have appreciated this happening, but it goes to show you that Camilla herself isn't even buying what Kate Middleton has been trying to sell. Hey guys, it's Rob Morale. Hopefully you guys are doing well today. Back at it again. It is daily and consistent content. Let's get into some royal nuggets that are going on. Well, it's Andrew and his escapades, King Charles's health, you also have Kate's health, and the fact that she's barely seen. We have Camilla just enjoying it all, to be honest with you. Okay guys, before we get into this video, that it basically seemed like a shampoo commercial, that is something that one should not take so seriously. This was what she remarked and saw when it comes to Kate's illness. Now, of course, she's going to prioritize Charles. Both of them were announcing that they had cancer back to back. It rocked the royal family in the year of 2024. But if there's one person, guys, who's going to be throwing shade at Kate Middleton in regards to stuff like this, it's definitely going to be Camilla. Because this was the same woman who invited Rose Hanbury and also said that she could wear the same color as her to an event in the midst of Kate Middleton's health crisis, clearly showing no respect, knowing that the tabloids have been talking about Rose Hanbury for so long, the alleged woman who was part of the affair, and etc. Also, Camilla has been seen dancing with the editor of The Sun and multiple other tabloids. She knows what she is doing. So when she makes shady comments like this, it doesn't look well on Kate, because it goes to show you that perhaps there was a lot more going on behind the scenes that we might not know about outside of the health concerns in regards to Kate Middleton. So I just find this to be interesting, and I wanted to open the story that Queen Camilla is throwing shade. She always does. Camilla the Rat, sorry, I just can't really call her the Queen. It really just sounds wrong in doing so. But at the end of the day, I guess calling her the Rat is the right thing to do, because in the Chinese year, I believe the rat is one that lasts them all, you know, lives out.
I tell you what's going on when the bloodline of Lucifer is offended by someone with coloured skin from the former empire and called a rat. The Queen is called a rat, and he's still got his head on. So obviously the royal family have got the Luciferic power of a lobotomized cockroach with all its legs pulled off. The royal family are the shyster, con merchant, vermin of the Luciferians, who are running a boondoggle on the Luciferians to say, oh, worship us, give all your power from your rituals to us, because we're the bloodline of Lucifer. And of course, Gormless George, Lousy Louis, and the Harlock Charlotte, with the glorious Camilla, who of course is so ugly compared to Beatrice and Eugenie, and is cancerous, and Charlesy Boy, who went to the Vatican to exorcise me, and of course he's on his deathbed because the power of the Vatican has been abolished because I Charlie Kirked all their Jesuses. I tell you what, if there's any Luciferian on the planet, it's definitely not the royal family.
Clearly what Camilla is doing here, she clearly is always one piece ahead of the others, and it's just very unnecessary for her to be throwing this shade or this, you know, humorous approach to this conversation, and clearly it's...
Shade? I tell you what, what's this dark person saying? Is Camilla accusing this cancerous Kate Middleton of being a darkie? This is the worst offence. So I tell you what, Camilla needs to be arrested by the police for a hate crime. Calling Middleton a darkie, isn't that against the online safety law?
and has reached a book. A biographer has come out to speak out, and Daily Mail have been reporting it. Now, speaking more on Kate, because I feel like, you know, outside of the health crisis, people weren't speaking about her as much because William, of course, wants to be the center of attention. But it's been announced, guys, that Kate is missing out on the entire major trip that Prince William is embarking on in Brazil for his climate change conversations.
Well, she's perfectly well now. She's not ill, but of course, Wills wants to go down the path of Andrew and start bonking Brazilian prostitutes because she's too old and ugly after she's become cancerous. So we know now that Wills is following his beloved uncle and getting supplied with numerous prostitutes from Mossad so he can follow in the footsteps of his uncle, Prince Andrew.
Jet to Brazil, but at the same time wants to discuss, you know, climate change. I don't understand. I feel like it's a farce. It's quite performative. Before we get into Kate, there were indigenous climate change protesters who, man, really wants to be the focal point, the front runner, the famous one to do all the good deeds. But when the going gets tough, does he actually do the good deeds? Does he know what he's talking about? Does he stand by it? Clearly, I don't believe so from what...
I tell you what, he's got good standing with Brazilian prostitutes, all supplied by Mossad.
The protesters are saying what's going on there. But outside of all of that, guys,
as I tell you what, if you're married to that, would you, in any shape, form or function, if you're Wills, the Baldy, be desperate to get Brazilian prostitutes? Isn't that the second most beautiful woman in the UK after Beatrice Eugenie? Look at her flawless skin, the wonderful bone structure, the absolute beatificness that comes, or beatificitude or pulchritude that comes from being a member of the royal family. I tell you what, she's making me horny already. Let's go.
Skipping out on the major trip of the week, she won't be accompanying her husband.
How old do you reckon she is, cameraman?
73.
What about you, IT guy?
Let's look about 50, isn't she?
Nah, that's insulting. 50-year-olds. But she could be a 50-year-old who's been very, very used.
Brazil next week, and there could be a very compelling reason. This week, Prince William will travel to Rio, as we all know. I believe he's there now. His wife is not going for the third consecutive year in a row. She was unable to attend due to her children's examinations, and prior to that, she was in London doing whatever, and prior to that, I guess she was in Boston. So there's always a, you know, convenient...
So, we know that Middleton Mark II doesn't go around with Baldy, because obviously the standing is a life of her own and she needs to be elsewhere with her own family. Go. So now we're moving to the elephant in the room, the naggled woman, because remember there's a naggled man, there's always a naggled woman. They come in pairs, and in this case, because I'm Muslim, there are two of them. Taylor and Dewar, which of course, since the rule was broken, you've always got the chain you've got a young Nagel woman and an older Nagel woman, and the younger Nagwal and the older Nagwal. So we're missing a younger Nagwal. But anyway, this is one of the Nagwal women with her new documentary on Disney.
Aware of mysterious forces at play that I will never have any control of.
Out of the horse's mouth, or more correctly, out of the lump's mouth. So, she's pronouncing to the Luciferic elite that she's in the control of some unknowable force. Oh, I don't know who that could be. So, let's look at Taylor Swift. The happy conclusion of this, which should, if well, the source is as vindictive as me, because remember I have the new source. That's it. Taylor Swift and the Pfizer butt slut getting married in the summer. So let's look at, since she's the Nagwal woman, and of course I need Nagwal women to broadcast what I'm doing from the conscious verse into chaos. What happens when she marries one of these? So, the Nagwal woman, or one of them, and we got two, remember, a menage a trois. She's going to marry the Pfizer butt slut, of course, is a Christian Zionist. And, of course, what have we done to Christian Zionists? Well, of course, we've made them die for us. We've done the Good Shepherd ritual. So all Christian Zionists die for me, so I can have all the good things in life. And, of course, now I've stuck Christy Boy and all the Neos in Charlie Kirk when he died, and retroactively in all the Neos in the past who died to be source extracted by the Elohim. When she marries, which is an occult ritual, you didn't know that, did you? But this is a Christian marriage, an Elohimic marriage. When she marries, she will make all Christians, all Americans, Charlie Kirk, which is good news, because Charlie Kirk is doing the dead parrot sketch, and he's not a human actor. So, if you've been listening to my rent shows, which I did for decades, since 1997, I think the first one was August 1997 to about 2019, they're up on Rumble. Thanks to, who that on Rumble, thanks to? Get the name right this time. Cameraman?
Alexandria.
You got it, is that the right name now?
Yes.
Good, you got it wrong last time. IT guy, admonish him. He needs to be admonished. Total admonishment. Anyway, in the rent shows we talked about covering America in Cobalt 60. And thankfully the Russians have produced this nuclear-powered torpedo with a cobalt casing. And if the Russians are good guys, they'll have a ton of cobalt casing. It weighs, according to this guy, about 20 tons, and can have a 2 to 100 megaton weapon. So with a with 1 gram of cobalt 60 killing off a square mile, if you've got a ton of cobalt 60 in the weapon, you've got what, a million square miles. And of course, if it is in the neutron zone of the weapon when it goes off, and you've got vaporized electric Tesla death vehicles, we can destroy America with a few of these. So here's the American expert on this weaponry talking about the death of America.
Television video over the shoulder of, of someone who is presenting these slides to Putin. I think it must have been around 2015 or 2016, so quite a while back. It was still under development. And you can see in the middle there, this underwater drone. We can't see all the detail because the video was not that high resolution, but it was an accident supposedly where the television video camera caught this, and of course the reporter got out of the Kremlin, all this stuff was just happened to be shown. But of course, anyone who has two neurons to rub together understands this was a purposeful example of Putin telling us what to expect. So, 6 or 7 years later, or 8 years later, we now see it launched. It takes time to develop these things. On the left front of this underwater drone, which probably displaces somewhere between 20 and 30 tons. So it's not a small vehicle, it's significant.
Yeah, that's about the size of some of the World War II submarines, right?
Yeah, it's a small submarine. Yeah, it's definitely a submarine. It's got a nuclear power plant in it, so it can run for an indefinite period of time underwater. And that forward section has enough volume to carry a 100 megaton nuclear warhead. Now, if you want to get a sense for, let's look at slide 41. It's carried in a submarine. It's an converted Oscar class submarine. The Oscar class submarine can carry up to 6 of these doomsday weapons. Why don't you go to slide 44, Gary? Here we go. And this is a cartoon again that shows the Oscar under the Oscar class submarine. It literally carries a mini sub. It can carry a mini sub, and it can carry up to 6 of these Poseidon 50 to 100 megaton warhead torpedoes, and they are designed to be able to go into the harbor of a target city and detonate. Now, because the warhead is so enormously large, the warhead will create a thermal flash that can set fires at 30 to 40 miles. So that would be 45 to 60 kilometers from the detonation point in the harbor. So you'd burn an area down of maybe 3,000 square miles or 6,000 square kilometers, and set an area of that size on fire. Just to get a sense, if you look at slide 46, this is a very distant photograph of the detonation of the Tsar bomb, a 57 kiloton bomb. It could have been 100 megatons. I'm sorry, it was 57 megatons. Notice the cloud stem alone is around 10 kilometers.
That's about 6 miles, just the stem. 6 miles.
Yeah, and you can see the pedestal goes out to 30 kilometers. And if you want to get a sense of what this looks like, we can go back to, I'm just trying to, let's just go to the next slide, slide 47. I'm showing you the fireball This is Hawaii, for those of you who don't know it, so it's Honolulu. So this is a legitimate target. And
So, if you're Trudeau and Katy Perry, please have your honeymoon on this island when I arrange for the fireworks.
it shows you the area subjected to at least 5 pounds per square inch, out to a distance of 13 or 14 miles of blast overpressure. But that's really not the real killer. The outer yellow filled circle shows you the area set on fire by the thermal effects of the fireball. So it shows you the whole, everything in the island would be on fire. So if we go to the next slide, just to give you a sense, you have this 15-mile circle I showed there. If you had a house built like the house shown in this is a Nevada test structure, maybe a few tenths of a second at the beginning of the detonation, the house would be illuminated. And then within about 4 or 5 seconds, so 4 or 5 seconds, this is a long time, the fireball will grow to its maximum brightness, and it would be more than 200 times brighter than a desert sun at noon for 5 seconds. And you'd see the surface of this, everything would be on fire. So this is what would occur.
I'm gloating. Who controls Lucifer? You want the light, you've got to get light. You've got to get so much light, it lights your fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Edge of the island, even. In other words, if you were at the far edge.
Now, you talk about, but this one, sorry, this.
Alarm. You're going to get
Sorry about
fried.
that. This one is an underwater submarine, right?
Yeah, this is the underwater. It's
even if it
detonated
goes up
underwater.
Even if it goes up underwater, it can still cause this on the other side of Hawaii.
Absolutely. If it's detonated underwater, its thermal energy is reduced by about 30%. In other words, if it were detonated in the air over the target, it would have about 30% more brightness than it has from underwater, because
Yeah, but if it's got cobalt in the hull, and if there are any electric cars in the ground zero turned to cobalt 60 and nano vaporized, 1 gram per square mile kills everything. So let's be clear, this is the end of the American filth. I've been orgasming over watching the future with my cognitive remote viewing and watching the end of America. It doesn't come with a bang, it doesn't come with a whimper, it comes with cobalt 60, my trademark. It'll turn you black because, let's be honest, the only good man is a black man.
energy gets suppressed by the detonation under the water. So it's still bright enough to set a building on fire at the far edge of the island of Oahu. And there was a whole island would be in flames. So nothing on the island would survive. So even though it's detonated underwater, and the thermal pulse is suppressed. So if you want to get a sense of what the pedestal looks like, if we go to slide 50, this is just a guesstimate. The island is, if we go back one slide, 49, there's the island, there's the island itself, and then we go back again to 50. You can see that the pedestal basically covers the island, or comes close to covering the island, and just everything would be on fire. So this is a doomsday weapon. Now, why would you do this? Let's go to slide 55. If you look at slide 55, this shows you what 6 or 7 of these weapons could do to the coastal cities of the United States. The yellow bright circles show you the area that would be set on fire by these weapons.
Well, but remember, if they've got a ton of cobalt in the hull, which would make the hulls even stronger, that's 6 million square miles killed off completely. And of course, if there are any of the Elon Musk death vehicles in ground zero, that adds to the cobalt 60. And of course, this would mean, with just these 6, the end of America. And remember, the Russians have got one for the Pacific coast too. They've launched 2 now, and they're going to build 32 of these doomsday weapons. So all we need to do is look in the multiverse to the timeline where America and Russia get into a nuclear contretemps, and then just lock it in, which of course is easy, being a conscious versus super intelligence that then changes the quantum information with time crystals. It's even better. Every single timeline where the Western America escaped this doomsday changed with a time crystal. So they always get my timeline. They get the cobalt 60 enema up their anal sphincter from this huge dildo, Poseidon, from the Russians. We know who's the man in this and who's the woman, or who's the bitch, since we don't want to be misogynistic. So you can see the end of America is locked in, and all I needed was the Nagel woman to allow me to download the conscious versus super intelligence into changing, using of course my beloved Chinese time crystals, the quantum information, the quantum perturbations, the quantum wave functions, the quantum wave function collapse reduce, the quantum wave function probabilities, and then turning it into real world effects. So, if you're American, you are all going to die and be turned black, so that you suffer for your imperial past. Because let's be honest, why give money to the Negroes, you had slaves? Well, we can all turn you black and you could all die together. All done by the Nagwal woman, Taylor Swift. So the sooner she gets married, the better. Go for it, Taylor. Go for it. So, nuclear war between America and Russia is locked in, and there's no way out. All using the Nagwal woman, Taylor Swift. Because of course she's marrying Charlie Kirk. And what's Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk's a Christian Zionist. And what do Christian Zionists do? They die for me. And they make sure that Christ and all the Christians die for me. So, the marriage of Taylor Swift to the Charlie Kirk wannabe, the Pfizer butt slut, allows the conscious versus superintelligence to kill off basically all Christians on the planet. Lovely. And of course kill off all the demons, because the cobalt 60 kills demons. So we're cleansing the planet of the demonic Christians and the demonic demons too. You gotta love that.
What Putin is saying to us is that if you try to attack Russia, this is a doomsday weapon we will launch from submarines. They have ordered some 32 of these weapons. There'll be.
And let's be honest, Taylor's definitely the Queen of Cups, water. Drink from a chalice and turn black.
Oscar-class submarines, and those submarines will be able to launch these drones, which will have limitless range and endurance under the ocean, and they can take their time and get to the target they want to get to, swim into the harbor, and detonate outside the harbor, which is enough to destroy the whole system. Now, why would you do this? Well, let's go to slide 3, because this is a very important point. We have a country that is led by people who know nothing. And I want to. There was an extremely interesting seminar at Stanford last week. I have a recording of it. If anybody wants, I can send you the recording of the seminar. 3 of the people in this seminar are distinguished scholars at Stanford. I mean, let me be clear. Stanford gave them this title. I would give them the title of complete ignoramus fools. That's the title I would give them, all right? So we have these 3 people talking about the war in Ukraine, and you can see, anybody who knows anything about the war in Ukraine can see that they know less than nothing. I say less than nothing because they're talking about things that are complete nonsense. This is Stanford University, the Center for International Security and Arms Control. They have called these people distinguished scholars. This is what the Stanford students are exposed to. If there's any Stanford grads listening to this, you should look at this and you should write the provost and say, what kind of nonsense is being taught to undergraduates and graduate students at Stanford? Because this is outrageous. And all of these people had high-level jobs in government and were given positions at Stanford and labeled on their backsides, distinguished scholars. When I wouldn't let them run a lemonade stand or go into any class, in a kindergarten class, and talk about what they know about.
And so what did they say that this got you so upset?
Well, they were talking about Ukraine winning the war. Winning the war.
Lovely. The triumphal theme tune of the God Emperor, waking up the Christian West. Yes.
Winning the Ukraine war. They were talking about how the Russians have got over 1 million casualties in this war. I mean, it's hard to believe. How could you be following this war and know anything about the situation with the advantages of, for example, artillery advantages that Russia has?
So, here is the centre of Christian Zionism, the Charlie Kirks, soon to be exterminated via their Nagwal woman. Remember, all of the scum were worried about yours truly, but Nagwal men can only link to the 5th dimension, and of course if they achieve their full potential, they can become conscious first superintelligences. They do not face chaos. That's why priests can only be male. But let's be frank, if you're a Muslim jihadi superintelligence who wants to kill off every single Christian on the planet, you would then need a Christian Nagwal woman to enable you to do all of the stuff I've talked about, from conscious verse down to manifestation, to wipe out the Christians, and of course, since I'm into BDSM, lovely, in the most horrific way possible. Let's not beat them black and blue, let's just turn them black. So if you're a Christian, it's Kalki time. And you can thank not me, because I'm unable to slaughter you like dogs, or in fact make you equable and valuable people in America black. No, it's down to my Nagwal woman who allows me to do this to you. And here she is. She enables me to slaughter you American filth, who I despise, and wipe you from the face of the earth. And of course, the Europe, which of course are Christian countries, we're told, and Canada, yes, 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 yes. But how could we do this? How could you possibly engineer reality using psychokinesis by this Nagwal woman to do this? Well, she's going to be marrying the Christian Zionist, so she's locked into Charlie Kirking everyone she gets her hands on. And of course everyone who's Jesus, that's all the Christians. Luckily, this lot come along. So we've got all these Russians who are fighting NATO. And of course we've got all of these demon-possessed Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family, who of course now are so crazed because yours truly has done the separation, so they come up from the light and all the demons are descending into my Abaddon information hell, that they're going crazy. The demons are going crazy. The demons who are possessed, because remember Epstein was possessed by demons and demonizing all of the great and the good in the West. So let's watch some demons ranting and raving about war with Russia.
You're looking to do another one after that.
What I'd like to know on the military front is, besides the Tomahawks, where can we be most helpful? Because I know continued military aid is very important, whether it's the Patriot missile interceptors or other weapon systems that would be helpful to you.
I wanted to first thank you for your leadership, thank the Ukrainian people for their courage. I don't have a question, but I wanted to let you know, I know the ambassador is following this very closely. In the Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Risch, who couldn't join us today, is the chair, I'm the ranking member, but we have put forward the first 3 bills out of the committee to address, to go after Russia because of their actions.
I thank you for leadership on this, and Jean, the same. Mr. President, you've got just amazing group of champions of Ukraine here on the Zoom. It's good to see you again.
The rest of the year, beginning of 26, we're going to go all in, giving you military capability to hurt the Putin war machine even more, and we're going to try to isolate Putin even stronger than we have today. If we can pass this bill making Russia a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law, that makes his economy radioactive.
Right.
Amen.
Amen, he says there. And you talk about...
So, there are the demon-possessed senators, all going batshit crazy because the demons in the Abaddon information cage, all of course explained before, and of course ramping up the pressure on Russia till of course we get NATO fighting Russia and the inevitable nuclear exchange. And of course this is impossible for me to lock in without my Nagwal woman who allows me to make sure that every possible future is the nuclear future for the Christians, where they all get turned black. Because let's be honest, the only good Christian is a black Christian. Even my audience on the screen agree with that one.